This is Duke University.
Thanks very much, Martin. Really terrific paper. I was really intrigued by your comparisons with company towns, and I know quite a bit about company towns from the American South and really from the late 19th century. But one of the issues around company towns, which as you described, the company owned the land, but you build your own house, oftentimes, was in fact a kind of control over people's behavior, that workers could not join unions, could not, and so on. And that's how part of what you start to control. And so what I was wondering about is whether or not that analogy carries into this context. So, questions over, is there kind of effort to moderate behavior, to prevent unionization and so on? What happens with policing? What happens with transportation? How are you, are you controlling more than the land, the education, and the finance really, but really people's behavior and the kind of city that you want to create?
Yeah, I think Anne Maria's point was a good one, which is that they have an idea in most of these places what they want to do. In many cases, it's going to end up in conflict, and it's not going to work. There's going to be dramatic change, but there are efforts and to control behavior. For example, in Waterfall City, there are no liquor stores.
No liquor, that says,
Yeah, there's no liquor stores and there's no Christian churches, right, by regulation. And that controls behavior. You can buy liquor in a restaurant, and you can buy liquor in a supermarket if it's not a major product, but there's no liquor stores per se. And there are no nightclubs, and noisy, like rowdy student gathering places. So there isn't a real effort to control behavior.
so then of just people, sorry, just kind of people coming into work, not just the people who do the IT work, but people come in and clean the streets and all of that. Are they kind of being shipped in and out of these cities? And, and again, then to Anne Maria's question, do we have examples of these cities being in place where in fact they have not ended up as was intended?
Well, NYU Abu Dhabi is a great example of this. There's this whole expose in the New York Times, 6 months ago or something, about the controls over labor in the construction of that campus, which of course NYU then completely denied.
Again, the one I know best is Waterfall and taxis, for example. Taxis are going to bring in people to work, and they may even bring in poor people to go to the mall. Taxis, by regulation, cannot stop. They can pick up and let off passengers, but they can't stop. Because this is all private property, they can set up those rules, and so that's going to be policed. That there's no internal, there's taxi ranks on the margins, but not inside, as one example. And then workers that work there are going to be issued special IDs that are going to be monitored by electronic kind of surveillance systems so that people can be followed around the place through their ID.